When it comes to what students wear in school, it should be mandatory to have school uniforms along with subsidized funding for the clothing. No matter the educational system, issues will arise amongst groups of students. In the public school form, individual style is often tied to financial well-being, popularity, belief system, and personal comfort. Each student experiences the world according to their own personal interactions with family, friends, and other media they are drawn to. The ideas considered appropriate to wear to school varies from one household to another, leading schools to create and provide guidelines and rules for what is allowed and what is not. The school standard establishes a baseline in order to regulate and prevent clothing-related issues from occurring. As we see in BBC News, school uniform, Japan's strict rules to change in some schools, that the uniforms were established across Japan to make this problem less frequent. And while Japan has eased up on this uniform rule, I think there's still a potential solution to be considered. Requiring uniforms creates a consistency in the dress code, decreasing the stigma based on name brands and perceived individual style. This leads to the potential of less bullying, comparing, and overspending of resources. Required school uniforms may seem like an extreme action, but the positive benefits could change the future for many students. When it comes to what is being used to dress, we are in a few categories that needs to be looked out for. First would be inappropriate. When we're talking about inappropriate clothing, we're talking about things that are too revealing and logos that convey messages that may not be so nice. By being a more broad area, it can make rules really hard to make. Another problem we have is comparisons students will have when it comes to types of brands of clothing. And so with a couple of those issues, you think it would be, oh, this is an easy solution. We should go over to uniforms right away then. But as seen in the article, Breaking the Dress Code, Changing Role of Japanese School Uniforms, establishing a uniform dress code requires setting and enforcing rules. It also places a significant financial burden on families who have provided outfits for their child. This seems counterproductive. If they can't afford these uniforms, and if they also grow and the uniforms get damaged, this forces the parents to buy multiple expensive sets of clothing. So while there are these problems, what could be causing these problems or even making them worse? So let's try to find a way that allows them to switch our teachers' attention on other problems rather than this. For students with inappropriate clothing, the appeal is to grab attention. Without a set uniform, they will find ways to bend the rules you have given. That's why the dress code gets out of hand, because without a specific criteria, they have to keep restricting. An example that I use is from the Sandy High School handbook. This is my own school, and I'll be using a quote of one of the bullet points. Clothing and hats may not depict, imply, advertise, or advocate illegal, violent, or lewd conduct, weapons, or the use of alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, drugs, or any controlled substances. Due to what has happened over the years, they have added on to the rules, making each one of them as complicated as this one. It also punishes students if they didn't even mean to do anything wrong. Next is money. Not every household is in a financial stable state. This leads to when uniforms are required, or whether they're not, they're being punished for not having decent clothes. So in this situation, how could we both help the schools and the students? I believe the uniforms can be the answer to our problem, but more action is required. We need to cover the rules, the cost, and the transition. For the transition, it will be resisted at first. So we'll have to make rules that don't outright punish the student. We'll give them the 3 strikes, and they will get progressively harsh as they refuse to follow. For financial reasons, the family would be required to buy the first couple of uniforms yearly if needed. and a discretionary fund would be made as a separate pool of funding, this would help support families in a tight spot. And by doing so, they would have to check in with the school on their financial situation. This is to prevent individuals from abusing the fund. And the awkward stage of clothes is when they stop fitting. So we would set up return stations for the uniforms. They wouldn't get a full refund, but you'd be able to try it out. You'd be able to trade it out for a different size of a used pair, or trade it out for a small fund that you can put towards the next set of clothing. This is to give your students options. There will be more to figure out, but this gives a start for reconfiguring. Having talked about the problem with current dress code, what is causing the problem, and how it can be solved, it leaves some room for adjustment. For the students, we want them to learn as much as possible in school. While appearing as an issue that is less substantial, it can distract more than you would realize. It's more about the reinforcement of the rules. For teachers, we'll have to judge a large variety of clothing. And so by putting the attention elsewhere for the teachers and for students not having to worry about what they wear, it gives a lot more potential.